So, ladies and gentlemen, I was telling you just now about the Panama Canal, and I spoke about the history of it, and I started to tell you a little bit about how it's used nowadays and the type of ships and vessels that can pass through it. And as I mentioned just at the end of the last speech, before our break, there was a referendum which was held a few years ago for the Panamanian people on whether the Panama Canal should be widened so as to allow larger ships to pass through it, and also so as to allow more of them to travel through each day. The result of this referendum was that 78% of the local population voted in favour of widening the canal. This will ultimately mean a rise in the volume, a doubling in the volume as a matter of fact, from 300 tons per year, 300 million tons per year to 600 million tons per year. This project it is hoped that this project will be completed in 2015, but it is currently going through a rocky time, so we'll have to wait and see what happens. And as I mentioned at the beginning of the speech, there are a few rival projects as well which aim to cash in on the great success that the Panama Canal has had. There is one project which has been mooted in Colombia and another in Nicaragua. It seems that the Nicaraguan project is the most viable one, and clear steps forward in allowing the project to start have been taken. The Nicaraguan project is much more ambitious than the Colombian one, and indeed in June 2013 a law was approved which granted a concession to a company from Hong Kong to start work on the project. The project will require a total of $40 billion. Now, this is 4 times the entire GDP of Nicaragua. So this funding, of course, cannot be provided by the Nicaraguan government. It will be provided from the private sphere, private companies. Nicaragua believes that this is an opportunity to improve the lot of the Nicaraguan people and to increase the prospects for their futures. But of course, like with any large development project, everybody is far from agreeing on it being a good thing. The company that will be leading the project will have the right to evict people off the land that will be necessary for the works to take place. And aside from the social damage that this will cause, there will also be devastating effects for nature and the environment. So, can Nicaragua really rival Panama in its canal? Well, that is yet to be seen. There are also other projects or other possibilities for shipping that are now being seen around the world. You may have heard of the fact that now there are new shipping routes opening up that pass through the Arctic. So soon a trip from New York City to Eastern Asia could pass through the Arctic, whereas this was not possible in the past. This is principally thanks to the melting of the ice caps, which has been brought about as a result of climate change and global warming. These ice caps will not be melted throughout the whole year, since in the winter season the Arctic Circle does freeze over almost the Arctic Circle does freeze over, preventing ships from passing through, but there will be short periods during the year when it will be possible. So I've spoken to you a little bit about the history of the Panama Canal, and I've mentioned a few different projects, different alternatives to the canal. But what about the situation for the canal nowadays? Well, you may be aware of a recent controversy that has arisen with the project to widen the canal. In December 2010, a consortium led by a Spanish company came across difficulties whilst it was building the canal, whilst it was carrying out the enlargement process. Therefore, a mediation process was necessary in order to ensure that the private companies would agree with the Panamanian government. So this negotiation process, this mediation, is still ongoing at the moment. It's not certain what the result of it will be, and so we will have to wait and see whether the widening of the canal will reach its targets and ensure that Panama consolidates its position in maritime trade for years to come. Thank you.